Now we're going to learn how to create a frequency distribution table. Frequency distribution. Or a frequency distribution table, same thing. Frequency table, whatever you call that, we talk about this, a frequency. Frequency means how many times something happened or how many times something occurred. Okay, when we have a lot of numbers, then we're going to create a frequency distribution table to give us a good idea about how the data was spread out and how the data was distributed. All right, now I will use one example to show you how to create a frequency distribution table, and also I will tell you some basic concepts. All right, now the first basic concept is number of classes, each class, or the number of classes. Right. How many groups or how many class we would like to put all the number into. So the number of classes usually is between 5 and 20, depends on the data. Okay, it's usually it's between this, but there's no correct answer. There's no right or wrong. There's even no good or bad. It just depends, because this usually I don't think that's a science. I think it's kind of like an arts, because as long as you show it, it makes a very good sense, then that's okay. So number of classes. How do you determine the number of classes? So you're gonna get the n. Okay, so that is a sample size, right? Okay, and then you're gonna calculate a range. Okay, range is maximum value subtract a minimum value. All right, now be very careful here. This range actually means a range. It's not the range as the definition we learned in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. If you remember in Algebra 1 and 2, the range means what y value could be, right? And a domain means what x value could be. Then this range here just means the width, or just says the maximum value minus the minimum value. All right, now we are going to think, okay, we're going to put from here, so that's the minimum, to maximum. And then I try to break that into several groups or several classes, and I want each class has the same width or same length. So I might have like a from here to here is a class, and maybe here is another class. See, each class has the same width. Okay. Here, so I might need one more, but anyway, so this is a class. In this case we have 7 classes. All right, now again, this is pretty tricky, and so that's the number 2. We are going to calculate, or I just don't say that, I just say the class width, which is this. Okay, that's how wide each class is. I want each class have the same width. All right, so we're going to find the class width, and then we're going to choose, we call that lower class limit. And then we're going to get the upper class limit. All right, so after we get that, then we are going to do tally, and that is the frequency. All right, now what does that mean? Let's do this together with a sample data, because I already write this down before the class, because I don't want to spend too much time I don't want to spend too much time here. Okay, so let's see. We have this 30 students IQ. All right, we have a 30 students IQ, and I want you to construct a histogram. Sorry, to construct the frequency distribution table for me. All right, so in this case, I know n equals 30. All right, if I want to have, maybe I want to have like a 5 or 6 because it's really not a big number. So maybe I want a 5. I try to have a 5 classes. That's my goal, but it might change. Okay, I hope to have 5 classes. And what is your maximum value here? Your maximum value, if you look through it, the maximum so far is 141. There's nothing above it. And our minimum value, if you have a really good eye, you just look through it, and here's a 70. Is there anything we have something lower than 70? Do we have something lower than 70? Oh, we do have one. We have a 66. Okay, so therefore I get my range equals 141 minus the minimum 66. All right, so that's how I calculate the range. Range is 75. So from 66 all the way, so you just go from 66 all the way to 141, and the range is 75. If I want to break this 75 into 5 classes equally, so you do 75 divided by 5, and then you have a 15. 15 sounds like a very easy number to use, so we just use a 15. All right, so that is that one. What happened is sometimes if you get some number looks like if you have the number like 18, you might just round it to 20. Just make it like a beautiful number, and with a 5 or 0 or whatever, or many zeros. So if you have the number here, this approximate class width from the whole range divided by the 5 classes, you hope it will be 15, and that's perfect. All right, now after that, our next step is to find the lower limit, or the lower class limit. So the lower class limit will be lower class limit. All right, even my smallest number is 66. I probably don't want to start from 66 because 66 doesn't sound like a very beautiful number, because every time if you have the class with the 15, then the next number will be from 66, then you're going to add a 15, you find the next lower limit, which is 81. So you don't like that. You probably will go down to like a 65 or even 60, or whatever you like to use. So I go down to like a 55. Once you have this 55, remember your class width is 15. So your next class level will be just add 15, and that will be 70. And the next one will be 85. Okay, and the next one will be 100. That sounds like a good number because 100 is IQ 100 is kind of like a benchmark or the easy number. Okay, then 115 and 130. Okay, the next one will be 145, but our maximum number is 141, so we don't need one more class. So we're okay. We just stop here. Okay, so that's all the lower class limit. Then the upper class limit. Since we have all integers, so from 55, the next one start from 70. So here will be 69. Can you see that? So all the number between 50, so the class, I'm going to put a class like this. Class will be 50 to 69, 70 to what? One less than that will be 84. So there will be 70 to 84. And then here will be 85 to 99. And then the next one will be 100 to 114. And then 115 to 129. Okay, now 132, if you have another class, it's going to be 145, but you don't have it. So that will be 144. You see what I'm doing here? All right. So this is very, very important. I put a little star. That's what we did. Finally, we get the classes. All right. Now we find the minimum, find the maximum, and then we use the interval divided by how many classes we hope we can have. So we get the class width, and then we choose some friendly number as the very beginning, and then make sure that this number is less than our minimum number, because otherwise you're going to have nowhere to put your minimum. Then you don't really need this anymore. You are going to start with this class. Okay, now next job is once you have this class, and then you're going to do little tally. So let me just lift this up a little bit so we can see the whole thing. Okay, I'll show you how to do this. All right, so I call this as a tally. It's much easier to go through those 30 numbers instead of count or just go there to find how many numbers are between 50 and 69. That means you have to go through all those 30 numbers again and again. Okay, now let's see what we're going to do. 70, the first number 70. 70 is in this class, so I just label 1 here. 85, 1. 86, 86 is in this class, so I just mark another bar. 76, a bar. 84 is right here. 96 here. Okay, now you see what I'm doing. I just go over all those numbers where I have all those 30 numbers once, and then I just count down during this process. So I'm done with the 96. Now next one, 94, and then 66 is here. 115, 97. 97 is here. We have 4 bars already, so I put the 5th bar as this. Just cross it out, so that shows it's a 5. So that is that's 97. 77 here. Okay, 128. 99. Okay, see, I start a new bar here, and 80. 110 here. 86. 86 is here. 141, 88, 96, 96, 107, 86, 80, 107, 101, 91, 91 is here, 125, 96, 96 is right here. And I have a 99 and a 99. So I'm done. You see, I finish all my tally, and the next in the column, you just just write down frequency. Again, frequency is just a count. So there's a 1 here, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a 5 plus this. That's a 6. Okay. And then the next one is I have a 15, and this is a 3, and this is a 4, and this is 1. And I always do this. I always write a total at the bottom. I always do this. I write the total at the bottom. So I go 1 plus a 6, which is a 7, plus a 15, 22, plus this is 3 is 25, then 29, 30. So once you have this magic number 30, you know you're doing things right. At least you're not missing too much, right? So that's a frequency. Now, I would like to copy this to a better table that looks like this. I have a class. I have a frequency. All right. I have a 50 to 69, 70 to 84. I just copy that, okay? I just copy it. So there's nothing really magic. So there's 1 and a 6, and 85 to 99. I have a 15, and I have a 100 to 114, and I got a 3, and 115 to 129, and I have a 4, 130 to 144. That's 1. So I put here, I put total. Total is a right. So far what you have is called a frequency table. It's not bad, right? It's not bad, right? It's not bad at all. But what we learned class, how to figure out 50, 55, I'm sorry. And we learned, yeah, I think I made a mistake here. Anyway, so we learned how to the number of classes, and how to determine the class width, and how to find the first starting point has to be its minimum value. And then each class, you find the lower limit of each class, and then you find the limit of each class, because just by looking at this number and less than that, see those until you reach class that can cover or that can contain it. And this is your frequency table. Calculations, you get the frequency table. And the next one is not really hard. It's called a relative frequency. Frequency means relatively how much in each class. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use each frequency divided by the grand total. The total is 30. I'm gonna use 1/30. You can keep that as a fraction, or you can write 0.0333. I always keep 4 decimal places for the relative frequency if you have decimals. All right, now the next one is 6/30, which is, you can write 6/30, or you can write 1/5, simplify that, or you can get a 0.2. The next one, 15/30, which is 1/2, or 0.5. The next one, 3/30, which is 1/10, or 0.1. And the 4/30, which is 2/15, if you simplify that. And if you're looking for what is a 2/15, and you should go to the calculator, you can use calculator. Okay, so I see the calculator here is 2, sorry, I think I show that here. 2 divided by 15 equal, sorry, yeah, it's 0.1333. So that's 0.1333. Okay, now the last one is, again, is 1/30, so that is a 0.0333. Okay, one more thing. For all the relative frequency, I ask you to add all those numbers together to see what you have. If you keep 4 decimal places like I do, then the answer you're going to get, because that's 0.2, 0.5, 0.1, it's already 0.8, and here's a 0.1, so it's 0.9, and you have a 3.333. So you will have 0.9999. All right, don't do that, okay? If you have 0.999, you can write it, cross it, and then you can just write 1. The sum of the relative frequency is 1. All right, you have 0.999 because there's some rounding error. Remember, you dropped some threes. So that's why. You can just add up. If your answer in your actual practice, if your answer is like a 0.9999, or even you have a lot of classes, you might have 0.9998, or sometimes you have some more rounding errors. Sometimes you round up, you get a point like 666 or something like that. So you might have you might have a 1.0001 and even 1.0002. Don't be scared. Don't worry about that. Just put a 1, okay? So this is the frequency distribution, and this, let me just cover that. And class with the relative frequency is called a relative frequency distribution. So far we have learned how to create it. And if you remember how did we do that, then you just do your homework, because there's going to be plenty exercise. All right, now one more thing I want to just briefly talk about is called a cumulative frequency. Cumulative frequency. Cumulative, which is, okay, if you see the class is from 55 to 69, I'm gonna put here less than 70. All right, so it's equivalent, right? So the cumulative frequency is 1. Then the next one, this first class is less than 70. If I combine the first two, it's going to be how many numbers are less than 85. So I'm going to put less than 85. Now in this case, less than 85 should be the sum of these two frequencies. So that would be 7. All right. Again, this one is 70, 85. I know the next one will be 100, right? Because every time you go up by 15. Now, if you look at the frequency less than 100, that should be the sum of the first 3 classes. So that will be 1 plus 6 plus 15. So that will be 7 plus 15. So that's 22. It's not bad, isn't it? And the next one is less than 115. And if you remember, the next number is 3. So here is going to be less than 115. So it's going to be the sum of all these 4 classes. So that will be 25. Okay. And the next one, less than 130. So we're going to add 4. So that's 29. And the next one, all right, now the last one is 120 to 144. The next class should start from 145. Therefore, here will be just 30. Okay, for cumulative frequency, you don't need to add a total because you count so many. Let's see this one. This one is part of this 7. It's part of this 22. It's part of this 25. So it doesn't make any sense to add those cumulative frequencies together. Just list that. And also the last number in your cumulative frequency should be the same as the grand total. And the very similar, you can get the cumulative relative frequency. And I would let you to finish that, and then of course you know what to do, right? You're going to copy this 0.0333 here, and the next one you're going to add that 0.2 and so on and so forth. And I just want you to make sure at the end, in the last one, the cumulative frequency, the last one should be 1, which means 100% of the data less than 145. All right, so this is what we should know about frequency, how to construct a frequency table, how to construct a relative frequency table, and how to get the cumulative frequency and how to get the cumulative relative frequency. Of course, before that, you should know the classes and how many classes you want, and how do you choose the lower limit and upper limit. Then there are 2 more concepts I'd like to tell you. Okay, let's go back to here and go back to the class. Okay, so if you have a frequency table look like this, if I ask you what is the class width, then you just use the lower limit. You choose 2 consecutive lower limit and then find the difference between them. So you can do 70 minus 55, which is a 15, or you can do 85 minus a 70, you also get 15. It should be the same thing, so that's a class width. Okay, be very careful. Class width is not from 55 to 69. And you find, 55 to 69, the width is 14. No, it should be 15. So the easiest way is just use the lower limits. And the other one is called a midpoint of a class. Midpoint of the class, which is you choose the lower limit and the upper limit, add up divided by 2, which means you take the average of them. All right, now for example, the midpoint of this class will be just 55 plus 69 divided by 2, and that is 124 over 2. The midpoint is 64. So 64 is the midpoint. Is that right? Sorry, 62. Sorry. Okay, so 62 is the midpoint of this class. So if I ask you what is the midpoint of this class, then you're going to do 70 plus 84 over 2, which is 154 over 2, so the answer is 77. So 77 is the midpoint of the second class. All right, so class width and the midpoint of the class. If you see the table, then go backwards. I ask you what is the class width. Now you know how to calculate that, and also you know how to find the midpoint of the class. So I think that's all for this.